Millionaire learns the heartbreaking truth about a 4-year-old boy sleeping in a cardboard box and the homeless mother who shared her shelter. Thunder cracked across the Manhattan sky as rain pelted the empty streets of Lower East Side. In a dim alley behind Jefferson Street, a cardboard box sat pressed against a brick wall. Inside, 4-year-old Tommy clutched a worn teddy bear, his small body shivering despite the newspaper sheets wrapped around him. His parents' last words echoed in his mind, "Stay here, sweetheart. We'll be right back." That was 3 days ago. Through the downpour, Anna Miller noticed the box moving slightly. The former pediatrician, now homeless herself, approached cautiously, her heart stopping at what she discovered. Hey, beautiful souls. Before we dive into this touching story, drop a quick comment with your location and hit that like button. Let's spread some love and see where our amazing community is watching from. 5 years ago, Dr. Anna Miller was one of Manhattan's most respected pediatricians. Her private practice on the Upper East Side catered to New York's elite, but she never lost her compassion for underprivileged children, dedicating every Thursday to free clinics in low-income neighborhoods. Her husband James, a brilliant cardiothoracic surgeon, shared her dedication to helping others. Together with their son Michael, they embodied the perfect American dream: successful careers, a beautiful brownstone, and most importantly, a home filled with laughter and love. That dream shattered one rainy October evening. Anna had just finished her last appointment when she received the call. James and Michael, returning from a father-son baseball game, had been involved in a catastrophic accident on the FDR Drive. By the time Anna reached Mount Sinai Hospital, James was already gone. Michael, their beautiful 7-year-old boy, clung to life in the pediatric ICU, the same unit where Anna had saved countless children's lives. For 3 weeks, Anna never left Michael's bedside. She watched helplessly as her son, once vibrant and full of dreams about becoming a doctor like his parents, fought against internal injuries that even the best medical care couldn't heal. The mother in her ward, with the doctor, one clinging to hope, the other understanding the grim reality of his condition. When Michael finally slipped away, holding his mother's hand and asking if he would see Daddy in heaven, something inside Anna broke irreparably. The following months passed in a blur of grief and isolation. Anna stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped practicing medicine. Her perfect brownstone became a prison of memories: Michael's baseball trophies, James's medical journals, family photos that now felt like daggers to her heart. The substantial life insurance payout sat untouched while bills piled up. Her medical license lapsed as she missed renewal deadlines. Friends tried to help, but Anna retreated further into herself. Eventually, the brownstone was sold to pay debts. Anna found herself moving between cheap motels, then shelters, and finally the streets. Her medical degrees meant nothing as depression and grief consumed her world. Some of her former colleagues tried to intervene, but Anna had become a ghost of her former self, deliberately disappearing into the anonymous masses of New York's homeless population. Survival on the streets taught Anna a harsh new reality. The woman who once wore designer suits now learned to find warmth in discarded newspapers. Hands that had performed delicate medical procedures now dug through dumpsters for food. Yet even in her darkest moments, Anna's medical instincts never fully disappeared. She became known among the homeless community for her ability to treat minor ailments, earning her the nickname Street Doc. The cruel irony wasn't lost on her. She had gone from saving children in a state-of-the-art medical facility to barely being able to save herself. Each time she saw a child on the street, she thought of Michael, wondering what he would think of his mother now. The pain never lessened, but it changed, becoming a constant companion rather than an acute agony. Life settled into a grim routine. During days, Anna would wander the city, occasionally helping other homeless people with basic medical care, using knowledge that felt like it belonged to another lifetime. At night, she would find shelter in various spots around Lower Manhattan, avoiding the more dangerous areas she'd learned about through hard experience. She carried only two precious possessions: her medical license, expired but preserved in a waterproof bag, and a crumpled photo of James and Michael at their last baseball game. The medical community that once respected her now passed her on the street without recognition. The same parents who had entrusted their children's lives to her care now pulled their kids closer when they saw her approaching. Anna accepted this new reality with a numbness that had become her default state of being, until that rainy night when she found a cardboard box that would change everything, a discovery that would force her to confront not just her present circumstances, but the ghosts of her past and the possibility of a future she had long since abandoned. The cardboard box Tommy called home bore the faded logo of a high-end electronics store. Inside, he had created a child's version of domesticity: a corner for his teddy bear Benjamin, carefully arranged newspaper bedding, and a small collection of treasures: 3 smooth pebbles, a broken toy car, and a crumpled photograph of happier times. Most 4-year-olds would be watching cartoons at this hour. Tommy was counting raindrops and trying to remember his mother's voice. His parents, Sarah and David Thompson, weren't typical abandoners. Before disappearing, they had kept Tommy well-fed, well-dressed, and enrolled in a prestigious Upper West Side preschool. Their sudden vanishing act 3 days ago came without warning. Tommy remembered his father's hands shaking as he tucked him into the cardboard box, his mother's tears as she wrapped him in his favorite blue jacket. "Stay here, sweetheart. We'll be right back," they had promised. Tommy didn't understand the whispered conversation about dangerous people and protecting him that his parents thought he couldn't hear. The first night alone was the scariest. Every siren made him jump. Every shadow seemed monstrous. He clutched Benjamin tighter, remembering his mother's bedtime stories about brave bears protecting children. During the day, he watched people's feet hurry past his box, too afraid to call out, too well trained in stranger danger to seek help. Some dropped coins near him, mistaking his box for a homeless person's shelter, but Tommy didn't understand money, yet he just added the shiny circles to his treasure collection. His blue jacket, once warm and comforting, now hung damp and heavy on his small frame. Hunger had become a constant companion, stronger than his fear. The last food he'd eaten was half a bagel dropped by a passerby, which he'd carefully rationed over 2 days. His preschool training in sharing made him offer a piece to Benjamin, even though he knew teddy bears weren't real, a secret he kept from his parents because it seemed important to pretend. The rain had been the worst part. It turned his cardboard sanctuary into a soggy prison, forcing him to huddle in the driest corner as water seeped through the top. He remembered his teacher, Miss Jenkins, talking about adaptation, how animals change to survive their environment. Tommy adapted too, learning to sleep sitting up, to stay quiet when voices came too close, to ignore the gnawing in his stomach. What made Tommy's situation particularly heartbreaking was his continued faith in his parents' return. Each morning he carefully folded his newspaper bedding, straightened his jacket, and arranged his treasures, preparing for their arrival. He practiced his indoor voice, following rules from a home that no longer existed. When darkness fell without their return, he would whisper goodnight to the stars he couldn't see from his alley, just as he used to do from his bedroom window. His vocabulary, advanced for a 4-year-old, had already begun to shift. Words like breakfast and bedtime faded, replaced by hungry and cold, yet he maintained small rituals from his previous life, wiping his feet before entering the box, saying please and thank you. To Benjamin, keeping his treasure corner tidy as his mother always insisted. These fragments of normalcy were his only connection to the life he'd known just days ago. The neighborhood's other homeless residents had noticed him but kept their distance, their own survival instincts warring with concern for the child. Some left scraps of food near his box. Others whispered about calling authorities. But street life had taught them the cruel calculus of intervention. Sometimes help could bring more harm than good. As thunder cracked overhead and rain intensified, Tommy retreated further into his box, pulling his knees to his chest. He was too young to understand hypothermia, but his body trembled with its approach. His world had shrunk to the dimensions of a cardboard box. his universe to the space between hope and abandonment. The photograph of his parents, now waterlogged and fading, remained clutched in his small fist, a talisman against the darkness, both literal and metaphorical, that threatened to engulf him. This was the scene Anna Miller stumbled upon a child's attempt to maintain dignity and order in a world that had stripped him of both, a testament to resilience that would awaken something long dormant in the former pediatrician's heart. Anna's hands trembled as she knelt beside the cardboard box. Years of medical training kicked in automatically as she assessed Tommy's condition: slight shivering, pale skin, sluggish responses. "Hey there, little one," she whispered, keeping her voice soft and steady. "I'm Anna. Are you hungry?" Tommy clutched Benjamin tighter but nodded slowly, his blue eyes studying her with a mix of fear and desperate hope. From her weathered backpack, Anna produced half a sandwich she'd been saving for tomorrow. The practiced motion of breaking it into child-sized portions brought back memories of countless hospital lunches shared with young patients. Tommy accepted the food with impeccable manners, his quiet "thank you" breaking something loose in Anna's chest. He even offered a piece to Benjamin before taking his first careful bite. "Is Benjamin your friend?" Anna asked, nodding toward the teddy bear. The simple question opened a floodgate. Tommy spoke of Benjamin's adventures, his voice growing stronger with each word. Anna recognized the therapeutic value of this conversation. Children often process trauma through their toys. She listened intently, noting how Tommy's stories revealed details about his life before the box: loving parents, a comfortable home, regular routines now tragically disrupted. As rain continued to pour, Anna made a decision that would alter both their lives. "Tommy, I know a place where it's dry. Would you and Benjamin like to come with me?" The boy hesitated, remembering his parents' promise to return. Anna understood his dilemma. "We'll leave a note," she suggested, pulling a marker from her bag. Together they wrote on the box: "Tommy and Benjamin are safe and dry. Look for us in the morning." The journey to Anna's shelter spot, a relatively secure alcove behind an abandoned warehouse, became their first shared adventure. Tommy insisted on carrying his treasures himself, carefully wrapped in newspaper. Anna found herself automatically reaching for his hand at crosswalks, explaining traffic signals, making the walk an impromptu lesson as she had done countless times with Michael. The similarity hit her hard, but instead of crushing her, it felt like a door slowly opening in her heart. At the shelter, Anna transformed their corner into a child-friendly space with practiced efficiency. Her cardboard collection, usually used for insulation, became walls for a fort. Tommy's eyes lit up as she used her medical knowledge to tell stories about brave cells fighting off cold germs, turning their situation into something less frightening. When she draped her spare sweater around his shoulders, he snuggled into it like it was a royal robe. The night brought challenges. Tommy woke twice from nightmares, calling for his parents. Each time, Anna soothed him with techniques learned during her pediatric residency: gentle humming, calm reassurance, presence without pressure. She found herself sharing stories about Michael, something she hadn't done since his death. Tommy listened with solemn attention, instinctively understanding these stories were special. By morning, they had established a routine. Anna showed Tommy how to wash up using bottled water, maintaining dignity even in their circumstances. They shared breakfast, a granola bar Anna had been saving for emergencies while planning their day. Tommy's suggestion to look for his parents was met with careful support. Anna knew the importance of preserving hope while preparing for harsh realities. The most surprising development was how naturally they filled gaps in each other's lives. Tommy's need for care reawakened Anna's medical instincts. His innocent questions about the world forced her to engage with life again. In return, her experience helped him adapt to their difficult circumstances without losing his essential childhood wonder. When he declared her better than a doctor, because she could make a fort, Anna felt tears spring to her eyes, the first she'd shed in months, that weren't from despair. And that first morning together ended with a promise. As they prepared to check Tommy's box for his parents, Anna knelt to his level. "No matter what happens," she said, "you and Benjamin won't be alone anymore." Tommy's response, a tight hug and whispered promise, sealed their bond. Neither knew the challenges ahead, but in that moment, two broken souls began to heal each other through the simple act of belonging together. 6 days into their newfound routine, Tommy's cough started. At first, Anna dismissed it as a common cold, inevitable given their living conditions. But her medical instincts screamed warnings when his breathing became labored during their daily walk to check his box. The way he clutched his chest, the slight blue tinge around his lips, symptoms she'd seen too many times to ignore. "My chest feels funny, like butterflies are stuck," Tommy whispered, his small hand gripping Benjamin tighter. The description sent chills down Anna's spine. It was exactly how Michael had described his first cardiac episode years ago. She pressed her ear to his chest, cursing her lack of a stethoscope, and heard the telltale murmur that had haunted her dreams since Michael's death. Despite her years on the street, Anna still knew every free clinic in Lower Manhattan. The nearest one, St. Mark's Community Health Center, was 20 blocks away. Tommy's fever was rising, his breathing becoming more labored with each step. Anna made a decision. She scooped him up, ignoring the protest of her weakened muscles, and began to run. The waiting room at St. Mark's was crowded, but Anna's medical training took over. 4-year-old male, showing signs of possible congenital heart defect, she announced, her authoritative tone cutting through the chaos. The receptionist started to protest until she saw Tommy's condition. Within minutes, they were ushered into an examination room. Dr. Sarah Chen, the attending physician, initially treated Anna with the wariness often shown to homeless patients, but as Anna rattled off Tommy's symptoms with precise medical terminology, the dynamic shifted. "You're Dr. Anna Miller," Dr. Chen realized, recognition dawning. "Your research on pediatric cardiac conditions. We studied your papers in medical school." The examination confirmed Anna's worst fears. Tommy had a congenital heart defect that required immediate attention, the same condition that had contributed to Michael's vulnerability in the accident. The irony was cruel. Of all the children in New York she could have found, she'd discovered one with the same medical demon that had taken her son. As Dr. Chen arranged for Tommy's immediate transfer to Mount Sinai Children's Hospital, Anna faced a devastating choice. The hospital would notify child services. Her status as a homeless person would prevent her from having any say in Tommy's care. The system she'd once worked within would now separate them, just as she'd begun to heal. Tommy, sensing her distress, reached for her hand. "Are the butterflies bad, like Michael's?" he asked innocently, remembering her stories. The question shattered something in Anna. She'd failed to save Michael, but she wouldn't fail Tommy. With trembling hands, she reached into her waterproof bag and pulled out her expired medical license. "Dr. Chen," she said, her voice steady despite her ragged appearance, "before you call child services, I need to tell you the whole story." Over the next hour, as Tommy slept under observation, Anna revealed everything: her prestigious career, Michael's death, her descent into homelessness, and finding Tommy. Dr. Chen listened without judgment, understanding the thin line between success and tragedy that all medical professionals walk. "The hospital board will need to be convinced," Dr. Chen finally said, "but your expertise in pediatric cardiology, regardless of your current situation, could be crucial for Tommy's care." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I'll make some calls. We might be able to reinstate your license on an emergency basis, but you'll need stable housing, counseling." The word housing triggered another memory. Richard Miller, her brother-in-law, the real estate magnate she'd been avoiding since James and Michael's deaths. He'd tried to help before she disappeared, offering both financial support and a shoulder to cry on. Pride and grief had made her refuse. Now, for Tommy's sake, she would have to swallow that pride. As she watched Tommy sleep, his chest rising and falling with each troubled breath, Anna made a silent vow. She would rebuild her life, not just for herself, but for this child who had somehow found her in the vastness of New York City. The butterflies in Tommy's chest had set in motion a chain of events that would force Anna to confront everything she'd been running from. The search for Tommy's parents began while he recovered from his first round of cardiac tests. Anna, now temporarily staying in the hospital's on-call room thanks to Dr. Chen's intervention, worked with social services to piece together the puzzle. The photograph Tommy carried revealed more than just smiling faces. The background showed Riverside Park, and his father wore a Columbia University staff badge. Detective Marcus Rodriguez from Missing Persons approached the case with unusual intensity. "Something's not right," he explained to Anna. "These aren't typical abandonment patterns. The Thompsons' credit cards were used until 3 days before leaving Tommy. They're nothing. Their apartment was left intact, dishes in the sink, laundry in the dryer. It's like they vanished mid-routine." The investigation uncovered troubling details. David Thompson had been an assistant professor of finance at Columbia, Sarah, a successful real estate agent. Their financial records showed a comfortable lifestyle until 2 months before Tommy's abandonment. Then came a series of large withdrawals, followed by desperate attempts to secure loans. They were being bled dry, Rodriguez explained, spreading documents across Tommy's hospital room table while the boy slept. Classic loan shark pattern. But they were smart. They withdrew their son from preschool 3 weeks before disappearing, cancelled all his medical appointments. They were protecting him. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Tommy's treasured pebbles, which he insisted on keeping under his hospital pillow, weren't ordinary stones. One contained a tiny USB drive, carefully disguised. "Your son's quite the spy," Rodriguez said admiringly to Anna, who didn't correct his assumption about their relationship. The drive contained encrypted files, financial records documenting a massive money laundering operation at Columbia University. David Thompson had discovered the scheme while reviewing departmental accounts. Rather than stay quiet, he'd gathered evidence, planning to expose the corruption. But the organization behind it had discovered his investigation. The loan shark pressure was their way of controlling him, forcing him to participate or lose everything. They made a choice, Rodriguez explained softly, watching Tommy through the window as he played with Benjamin in the children's ward. They could either turn over the evidence and risk retaliation against Tommy, or disappear and leave him where he might be found by someone who could protect him. The revelation hit Anna hard. As a mother who had lost her child, she couldn't imagine choosing to leave one behind. Yet as someone who had seen the depths of human cruelty, she understood the desperate calculation the Thompsons had made. They'd chosen a chance at life for their son over keeping him in their arms. The investigation expanded rapidly. Federal agents became involved, tracking the money laundering network across multiple universities. Tommy's box location proved strategic. It was visible from a specific window in the Columbia Business School building. His parents had chosen the spot hoping someone from the university would recognize him and raise the alarm, exposing the scheme without putting him directly at risk. But their plan had a flaw. The same people threatening them had been watching that location, preventing anyone from the university from helping Tommy. It was pure chance, or perhaps fate, that Anna had found him instead, her appearance too disheveled for the watchers to consider her a threat. As the investigation deepened, Anna struggled with how much to tell Tommy. His medical condition required minimal stress, but he deserved some understanding of why his world had turned upside down. She found herself walking a delicate line, answering his questions with careful honesty while shielding him from the darker truths. "Were Mom and Dad scared?" he asked one evening, after another round of tests. Anna held his hand, noting how his fingers traced the medical bracelet on his wrist. "Yes, sweetheart," she answered. "They were scared because some bad people were trying to hurt others, and your parents wanted to stop them. They loved you so much they made sure you'd be safe." The investigation was moving faster now, closing in on the organization's leaders. Rodriguez visited daily, bringing updates and, more importantly, spending time with Tommy. The detective had lost his own son to street violence years ago, creating an unspoken bond between him and Anna, two parents who understood loss, working to protect a child who had endured too much. Each new detail about the Thompsons reinforced their love for their son. They'd left clues only Tommy would recognize, hoping to eventually reclaim him once the danger passed. The USB drive in his special rock was just one example. They'd trained him through games to keep certain items safe, preparing him even before they knew they'd have to leave. As Anna watched Tommy sleep that night, his chest rising and falling under careful monitoring, she wondered about the complex web of love, sacrifice, and protection that had brought him into her life. The search for his parents was unveiling a story more complex than anyone had imagined, and somewhere in the city, two desperate parents were hoping their gamble would save their son's life. The day Richard Miller walked into Tommy's hospital room, Anna was explaining the circulatory system using Benjamin the teddy bear as a teaching model. She didn't notice him at first, absorbed in making heart sounds that made Tommy giggle despite his discomfort. It was his sudden silence that made her turn around. Richard stood in the doorway, his expensive suit a stark contrast to the pediatric ward's cheerful decorations. 5 years had added grey to his temples, but his eyes, so like James's, still carried that mixture of determination and compassion that characterized the Miller brothers. "Hello, Anna," he said softly. "It's been a long time." The tension in the room was palpable. Anna instinctively moved closer to Tommy's bed, years of street hone protective instincts kicking in. But before she could speak, Tommy piped up, "Are you a doctor too?" "Anna's teaching me about butterflies in my heart." The innocent question broke the ice, drawing a genuine smile from Richard. "Not a doctor," Richard replied, stepping into the room. "But I am Anna's family." He paused, emotions flickering across his face. "I've been looking for you for 5 years, Anna. Every shelter, every soup kitchen, every hospital. I promised James the first to take care of you, and I failed." The mention of James's name sent a familiar pain through Anna's chest, but it was different now, duller, more distant. Tommy reached for her hand, sensing her distress with the uncanny perception of children. The gesture wasn't lost on Richard, whose eyes softened as he watched their interaction. "Dr. Chen called me," Richard explained, taking a seat by the window. "She said you needed help, and I almost couldn't believe it. The Anna Miller I knew would never ask for help, not even when the world was falling apart." He leaned forward, his voice gentle. "What changed?" Anna looked at Tommy, who was now attempting to draw a heart on his hospital gown with a crayon. "He did," she said simply. "Some things are more important than pride." The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken history. Richard nodded, understanding passing between them. What followed was a conversation that wandered between past and present, filled with careful navigations around painful topics. Richard spoke of his continued search for her, of keeping her medical license active through his connections, of maintaining her malpractice insurance just in case. Each revelation was a thread connecting her past life to her present reality. Tommy listened with fascination as Richard shared stories about James and Anna in medical school, about their shared dreams of helping children. He especially loved hearing about the time James had dressed up as a superhero to help a scared young patient through surgery, a story that made Anna both laugh and cry. "I want to help," Richard said finally, placing a thick folder on Tommy's bedside table. "Not just with money, though, God knows I have enough of that. I want to help you rebuild, Anna. Both of you." He gestured to the folder. "I've already spoken to the hospital board. They're willing to reinstate your privileges, pending a brief refresher course. There's also paperwork for temporary guardianship of Tommy while we sort out his situation." Anna's hand trembled as she opened the folder. Everything was there: housing arrangements, legal documentation, even a plan for gradual return to practice. Richard had thought of everything, just as he always had. But there was something in his efficiency that made her suspicious. "Why now?" she asked sharply. "Why all this?" Richard's expression shifted, revealing a vulnerability she'd never seen in her powerful brother-in-law. "Because I failed James," he said quietly. Because I let you disappear. Because this boy needs both of you, your medical expertise and my resources to survive. And maybe we all need a second chance at family. Tommy, who had been quietly drawing, suddenly held up his artwork. It showed 3 figures: himself, Anna, and Richard standing in front of what appeared to be a hospital. "Can we be doctors together?" he asked hopefully, unaware of the complex emotions his simple question stirred. The moment crystallized something for Anna. Richard's appearance wasn't just about redemption or obligation, it was about connection. Looking at Tommy's drawing, she saw what the boy had instinctively understood: the possibility of healing not just bodies, but the broken pieces of their shared past. "One step at a time," Anna said finally, reaching for the guardianship papers. "But yes, Tommy, maybe we can all be healers together." Richard's relief was visible, and as he began discussing practical details with Anna, Tommy added more figures to his drawing: stick figures with wings that looked suspiciously like James and Michael, watching over their new, unconventional family. Hey, beautiful souls, if this story touches your heart, don't forget to hit that like button. Your support means the world and helps share this touching story with others. As Tommy slept that evening, Anna and Richard sat in the hospital's quiet garden, finally confronting the past that bound them together. The autumn air carried the same crispness it had on the day of James and Michael's funeral, a memory that no longer paralyzed Anna as it once had. "James knew," Richard began, his voice barely above a whisper. "The week before the accident, he came to my office. He was worried about you, about how hard you were working, about the pressure you put on yourself to save every child." Richard pulled out an aged envelope from his suit jacket. "He left this with me, said if anything ever happened to him, I should make sure you got it." Anna's hands trembled as she took the envelope. Inside was a letter, James's familiar handwriting bringing instant tears to her eyes. "My dearest Anna, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. Knowing you as I do, you're probably blaming yourself, shutting everyone out, trying to carry the weight of the world alone. Don't. You've always been the strongest person I know, but strength isn't about standing alone, it's about knowing when to let others help carry your burden. Richard isn't just my brother, he's the person I trust most to take care of my family if I can't. Let him help. He may seem all business on the outside, but he has a heart as big as yours. That's why I made him promise to watch over you and Michael, no matter what. Remember our first date? You spent the entire evening telling me about your plans to revolutionize pediatric care for underprivileged children. That passion, that love for helping others, don't let it die with me. The world needs your heart, Anna. All my love. James." The letter crumpled slightly in Anna's grip as she fought back sobs. Richard waited patiently, his own eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I tried to find you after the funeral," he continued. "But you disappeared so completely. I hired private investigators, set up alerts at hospitals across the country. James made me promise, and I failed." "You didn't fail," Anna whispered. "I didn't want to be found." "After Michael," her voice caught. "After losing them both, I couldn't bear to see you. You look so much like him, sound so much like him. Every time I saw you, I saw James, and it hurt too much." Richard nodded, understanding. "We're both guilty of running from pain. I buried myself in work in building more hospitals and clinics, trying to save others since I couldn't save my brother and nephew. The Miller Foundation's pediatric wing at Mount Sinai, that was my way of keeping their memory alive." The revelation stunned Anna. She'd avoided news about the medical community for so long she hadn't known about the foundation. James would have loved that she managed, imagining her husband's pride in his brother's dedication to helping children. "The irony is," Richard continued, "everything I've built, all the success and influence, felt hollow without family to share it with. When Dr. Chen called about you and Tommy, it was like hearing James's voice again, giving me another chance to keep my promise." Anna looked up at the hospital windows, finding Tommy's room by habit. He has James's smile, she said softly. When he laughs, really laughs, it's the same way Michael used to light up a room. Finding him. It was like the universe giving me a second chance too. Richard reached for her hand, a gesture so reminiscent of James that Anna's breath caught. Then let's not waste these second chances, he said. James always said you were meant to heal children. Tommy needs that healing, not just medically, but emotionally. And maybe in helping him heal, we can heal too. The conversation shifted to practical matters, but with a new understanding between them. Richard explained how he'd maintained her medical credentials, hoping she'd return someday. He'd even kept her research grants active through the Miller Foundation, believing in her eventual return to medicine. The hospital board meeting is tomorrow, he said. They're prepared to reinstate your privileges under supervision, with conditions. Housing, therapy, regular evaluations. It won't be easy, but you won't be alone this time. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. James and Michael's insurance money, I've been investing it for you. It's enough to give Tommy the care he needs to restart your life. Anna felt tears sliding down her cheeks, but these were different from the tears of grief she'd grown accustomed to. These were tears of possibility, of hope. James would love Tommy, she said. He'd probably be teaching him baseball already, despite his condition. Richard smiled, a genuine smile that transformed his usually serious face. Well, someone needs to teach the boy baseball. I may not be as good as James was, but I think I remember enough to get him started once he's stronger, of course. As they sat in the growing darkness, the weight of the past seemed to shift, becoming less of a burden and more of a foundation for something new. The brothers Miller had always protected their own, and now, through a series of events, both tragic and miraculous, that protection would extend to a little boy who needed it most. Detective Rodriguez arrived at the hospital the next morning with news that changed everything. Through surveillance footage and financial records, they traced the loan shark operation to an organization called Meridian Financial Solutions. A front for one of the city's most sophisticated criminal enterprises. David and Sarah Thompson weren't just running from debt, Rodriguez explained, spreading photographs across Tommy's vacant hospital bed while the boy was having tests. They uncovered a money laundering operation worth billions. Meridian was using Colombia's endowment fund to clean dirty money from across the East Coast. David found discrepancies in the accounts, started digging deeper. But the detective pulled out a laptop, showing Anna and Richard a series of complex financial transactions. Sarah's real estate firm was unknowingly being used to purchase properties with laundered money. When they figured it out, they tried to gather evidence. But Meridian caught on. That's when the threats started. What followed was a chilling account of escalating intimidation. First came the accidental brake failure on Sarah's car. Then photographs of Tommy at preschool, taken by unknown observers. Finally, a dead bird left on their doorstep with a note, birds fall from nests all the time. They made the only choice they could, Rodriguez continued, his voice heavy with understanding. The FBI had informants inside Meridian disappear without a trace. The Thompsons knew if they went to the authorities, Tommy would become a target, so they planned something desperate but clever. The plan, as it emerged, was heartbreaking in its calculation. They'd withdrawn their life savings in small amounts, established new identities, and mapped out a complex escape route. But they knew Meridian would follow them if they took Tommy. So they made the devastating decision to leave him where he would be found, but in a way that would eventually lead to exposing the entire operation. The USB drive in Tommy's rock wasn't just evidence, Rodriguez revealed. It was a digital breadcrumb trail. Every time someone tried to access it, it sent a silent signal to multiple law enforcement agencies. They knew eventually someone would find Tommy, try to trace his parents, and find the drive. They just had to hope he'd be safe long enough for the plan to work. Richard, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke up. Meridian approached the Miller Foundation last month, he said, realization dawning on his face. They wanted to partner on some real estate developments. I turned them down because something felt off about their financials. He turned to Anna. "That's why I was able to find you so quickly when Dr. Chen called. I already had people watching Meridian's activities in this area." The revelation of Tommy's parents' sacrifice hit Anna particularly hard. As a mother who had lost her child to fate's cruelty, she couldn't imagine the strength it took to willingly leave one behind, even for his own protection. "They must be in agony," she whispered, thinking of Sarah and David's daily torture of not knowing their son's fate. Rodriguez nodded grimly. "We think they're still in the city, watching from a distance. The USB drive has been activated multiple times from different locations, always briefly. They're checking to see if their plan is working, if Tommy is safe." Richard immediately pulled out his phone, making calls to his security team. "We'll need to increase protection around Tommy," he said. "If Meridian realizes he's connected to both Anna and the Miller Foundation, they might see him as a threat again." Actually, Rodriguez interjected, "This could work in our favor. The Miller Foundation's involvement gives us a chance to set a trap. If we can make Meridian think they have another opportunity to access the Foundation's resources." The conversation turned tactical, with Richard offering his full cooperation to law enforcement. Plans were made to use the Miller Foundation as bait, creating a carefully monitored channel that might draw out both Meridian's leaders and, hopefully, the Thompsons. As they discussed strategy, Anna's thoughts turned to Tommy, now returning from his tests with a nurse. How would she explain to him that his parents' abandonment was an act of desperate love, that they were still fighting for him, even now? The weight of this knowledge settled heavily on her shoulders. "We need to be careful how we handle this with Tommy," she said, medical training kicking in. "His cardiac condition makes him vulnerable to stress. Finding out his parents are alive but can't come to him. It could be traumatic." Rodriguez agreed, sharing how his own experience with his son had taught him the delicate balance between truth and protection. They decided to tell Tommy a version of the truth, that his parents were helping the police catch bad people, and that they loved him very much but needed him to be safe with Anna for now. As Tommy settled back into his bed, clutching Benjamin and chattering about his tests, Anna watched him with new understanding. His resilience wasn't just innate, it was inherited from parents who had sacrificed everything to protect him. In his innocent smile, she saw the hope that had driven Sarah and David to make an impossible choice. The truth about the homeless community's involvement in Tommy's story emerged gradually, starting with a visit from Martha, an elderly woman Anna had treated for frostbite during her time on the streets. She arrived at the hospital carrying a carefully wrapped package and a story that would reveal an entire network of guardian angels. "We all knew about the boy in the box," Martha explained, settling into the chair beside Tommy's bed. "The street has its own neighborhood watch, you might say. We took turns walking past, leaving food close enough for him to reach." The package she brought contained Tommy's original blue jacket, now cleaned and mended by the homeless community's unofficial seamstress. The network, it turned out, was far more organized than anyone had imagined. Jerome, a former security guard who lived in the alley behind Columbia's library, had kept a log of suspicious vehicles watching Tommy's box. Sarah, a homeless veteran suffering from PTSD, had used her military training to document the patterns of men in suits who seemed too interested in a cardboard box. "We couldn't approach directly," Martha continued, her weathered hands smoothing Tommy's blanket. "Too many of us had noticed the watchers, but we made sure he was never completely alone." She pulled out a small notebook filled with careful observations, times, dates, descriptions of people who passed the box, notes about Tommy's condition. The revelation stunned Detective Rodriguez. The homeless community had compiled better surveillance than his initial police work. Their notes provided crucial timestamps, descriptions and patterns that helped fill gaps in the investigation. The invisible people of New York had seen everything while remaining unseen themselves. Richard, deeply moved by this underground network of protection, immediately began working with his foundation to support the community that had helped protect Tommy. Martha became the bridge between the foundation and the street, helping identify those who needed medical care, job training, or housing assistance. The story of Tommy's guardian angels spread through the hospital. Nurses learned that the mysterious appearances of clean blankets near his box had been orchestrated by Ben, a former nurse himself, now homeless after a battle with addiction. The half sandwiches Tommy occasionally found had come from Lisa, who worked nights cleaning office buildings and saved part of her meager lunch. "We couldn't save ourselves," Ben explained during a visit, his medical knowledge still evident as he discussed Tommy's cardiac readings with Anna. "But we could try to save him." The community had created a silent support system, each person contributing what little they had to keep one child safe. Tommy, still recovering from his latest procedure, brightened at each visitor from his time on the street. He remembered them all: the man who whistled lullabies from across the street, the woman who left him comic books, the elderly gentleman who made sure stray dogs didn't disturb his box. Each had been part of an invisible safety net. The most touching revelation came from Marcus, a teenage runaway who had slept in the alley near Tommy's box. He'd used his phone, the last possession he'd kept from home, to record license plates of suspicious vehicles. "I figured if something bad happened, somebody should know who did it," he explained. His records proved invaluable to the investigation. Anna found herself overwhelmed by the depth of care shown by those who had seemingly nothing to give. She remembered her own time on the streets differently now, recognizing the subtle ways the community had watched over her too. The coffee that appeared on cold mornings, the warnings about dangerous areas, the silent nods of acknowledgement, all part of a complex support system. Richard, seeing an opportunity to make real change, worked with Martha to create a program within the Miller Foundation specifically focused on homeless healthcare and rehabilitation. The program would be staffed partially by members of the street community themselves, acknowledging their expertise and dignity. "You know what the best part was?" Tommy asked one evening, surrounded by his growing collection of gifts from his street family. "They all told me stories. Different stories every day. Even when I was scared, I had new stories to think about." The community had done more than protect his body, they had nourished his spirit. The hospital board, hearing the full story, amended their conditions for Anna's reinstatement. Her experience with homeless healthcare would be viewed as valuable specialized training rather than a gap in her career. The street medicine program she'd informally created would be formalized with proper funding and support. As Tommy grew stronger, his room became a gathering point for two worlds that rarely intersected: medical professionals and street survivors, each learning from the other. The homeless community's knowledge of survival, their understanding of human nature, and their unconditional compassion proved to be valuable lessons for the hospital staff. The custody battle began with a surprise visit from Child Protective Services. Despite Richard's influence and Anna's improving situation, the system demanded its due process. Sandra Wells, the assigned caseworker, arrived with a stack of paperwork and a demeanor that suggested she'd seen too many heartbreaking cases to be easily swayed by emotion. "Dr. Miller," she began, her tone professionally neutral. "While your medical credentials are impressive, your recent history raises significant concerns." She glanced pointedly at Anna's worn clothing, a reminder of her street days. "Furthermore, there's the matter of your unresolved trauma regarding your son's death. The state needs assurance that you're emotionally equipped to care for a child with similar medical challenges." The hearing was scheduled for the following week at the family court on Lafayette Street. Richard immediately mobilized his legal team, but Anna faced an unexpected adversary. Meridian Financial, working through shell companies, had filed a competing custody claim through a children's advocacy group they controlled. Their strategy was clear: gain legal access to Tommy to pressure his parents into silence. "They're playing a dangerous game," Richard's lead attorney, Patricia Winters, explained during a strategy session. "They're counting on the court's preference for traditional family structures over a recently homeless single guardian. But we have something they don't: Tommy's own voice." Tommy's testimony, delivered via closed-circuit television to protect him from stress, became the heart of the case. His simple description of life with Anna touched even the most hardened court officials. "She makes the butterflies in my heart feel safe," he explained, using their private metaphor for his condition. "And she knows all the good stories about brave cells fighting bad germs." Dr. Chen testified about Anna's ongoing involvement in Tommy's medical care, highlighting how her specialized knowledge had been crucial in his treatment. Dr. Miller's experience with pediatric cardiac conditions, combined with her understanding of trauma in homeless children, makes her uniquely qualified to care for Tommy, she argued. The homeless community mobilized in their own way. Martha organized a letter-writing campaign, with dozens of people sharing stories of Anna's medical help during her time on the streets. Marcus, the teenage runaway, testified about Anna's protective instincts, describing how she'd helped him reconnect with his family while respecting his autonomy. The turning point came when Detective Rodriguez presented evidence linking Meridian to the threats against Tommy's parents. "Your Honor," he addressed the judge, "granting custody to their affiliated organization would be equivalent to placing the child in danger." The revelation forced Meridian to withdraw their petition, though the legal battle was far from over. Sandra Wells's final report surprised everyone. While Dr. Miller's situation is unconventional, she wrote, her dedication to Tommy's welfare is undeniable. The support system she has built, including medical professionals, family connections through Mr. Miller, and even the homeless community, demonstrates a remarkable ability to prioritize the child's needs above all else. However, the judge had concerns about stability. She ordered a 3-month provisional custody arrangement, with strict conditions. Anna must maintain stable housing, continue therapy, and demonstrate consistent employment. Richard's offer of a position at the Miller Foundation's pediatric clinic satisfied the employment requirement, but Anna insisted on earning her role through proper channels. "I want to win this the right way," she told Richard, "not just for Tommy, but for every non-traditional family fighting the system. We need to show that love and capability matter more than conventional appearances." The battle wasn't just in the courtroom. Anna faced skepticism from some hospital staff who doubted her ability to transition from homeless person to pediatric physician. Every decision, every interaction was scrutinized. She handled the pressure with quiet dignity, focusing on Tommy's care while rebuilding her medical skills. Tommy, meanwhile, showed remarkable resilience. During supervised visits with social workers, he spoke of his big family: Anna, Richard, the hospital staff, and his friends from the streets. His ability to maintain such strong bonds despite his trauma impressed the child psychologists evaluating the case. The final hearing approached with both tension and hope. Anna had met every condition, excelled in her medical refresher courses, and maintained a stable home environment in a modest apartment near the hospital. The judge reviewed 3 months of progress reports, testimonies, and evaluations. The court's primary concern, the judge stated in her ruling, is the best interest of the child. In this case, we have seen extraordinary circumstances met with extraordinary dedication. Dr. Miller has demonstrated not just the ability to provide for Tommy's physical and medical needs, but to nurture his emotional well-being during an incredibly challenging time. The granting of full temporary guardianship to Anna came with an unprecedented addendum and acknowledgement of the broader support network, including Richard's legal role as secondary guardian and the documented positive influence of the homeless community members who had protected Tommy. Sometimes, the judge concluded, family is found rather than born. This court recognizes that love, commitment, and community can create bonds as strong as any biological connection. The reality of managing Tommy's cardiac condition hit Anna with full force during his first major crisis under her care. It happened 3 weeks after gaining temporary guardianship. A seemingly normal evening turned terrifying when Tommy's lips suddenly took on a bluish tinge during dinner. "My butterflies are angry," he whispered, using their code word for chest pain. Anna's medical training clashed with her maternal panic as she rushed him to the emergency room, her mind flooding with memories of Michael's final days. The similarities were haunting: same age, same symptoms, same terrified expression that no child should ever wear. Dr. Chen met them at the entrance, already alerted by Anna's frantic call. His pulmonary pressures rising, Anna reported, falling into medical terminology like armor against her fear. Peripheral cyanosis began approximately 12 minutes ago, preceded by complaints of chest tightness. The next hours were a blur of medical procedures and anxious waiting. Anna found herself straddling two worlds: doctor and mother, professional and protector. When the cardiac team requested her input on treatment options, her hands shook as she reviewed the charts. Every decision carried the weight of both medical knowledge and maternal love. "We need to consider surgical intervention sooner rather than later," Dr. Chen suggested during a tense consultation. "The medication isn't managing his condition as well as we'd hoped." The words hit Anna like physical blows. Surgery meant risk, meant putting Tommy's fragile heart in another surgeon's hands, meant facing the same fears that had haunted her since Michael's death. Richard found her in the hospital chapel at midnight, staring blankly at the stained glass windows. "I can't lose another one," she whispered as he sat beside her. "I can't watch another little boy slip away while I stand there helpless with all my medical knowledge meaning nothing." But Tommy wasn't Michael, and this time Anna wasn't alone. The hospital staff, many of whom remembered her from her previous career, rallied around them. Nurses took extra shifts to ensure consistency in Tommy's care. Senior cardiologists consulted on his case pro bono, drawn by both the medical complexity and Anna's reputation in the field. The decision about surgery became a turning point. During a particularly difficult night, as Tommy struggled to breathe despite the medication, he grabbed Anna's hand. "Are you scared?" he asked, showing that uncanny perception that children often possess. "Because I'm scared too, but Dad always said being brave means doing things even when you're scared." Those words, innocent yet profound, helped Anna face her demons. She threw herself into researching the latest surgical techniques, consulting with colleagues across the country, and preparing Tommy for what was to come. She explained everything to him using their special vocabulary: brave cells, healing helpers, and butterfly mechanics. "You see this on the scan," she would tell him, pointing to his heart imagery. "That's where the butterfly's wings need fixing. The doctors are like butterfly mechanics, they know exactly how to make the wings strong again." Tommy would nod seriously, adding his own imaginative details to their medical fairy tale. The surgery was scheduled for a Tuesday. The night before, Anna found herself unable to sleep, pacing the hospital corridors where she had once worked. She ran into Martha, who had become a regular visitor, bringing street wisdom and grandmother's comfort to their medical battles. "Children are stronger than we think," Martha said, sharing a cup of terrible hospital coffee with Anna. "They bounce back like rubber bands. It's you as adults who snap like twigs." The simple wisdom helped center Anna, reminding her that Tommy had already survived abandonment, homelessness, and fear. He had his own kind of strength. The 8 hours of surgery were the longest of Anna's life. She alternated between pacing and sitting perfectly still, between reciting medical procedures under her breath and praying to a God she wasn't sure she still believed in. Richard stayed with her, his steady presence anchoring her to reality. When Dr. Chen finally emerged from the operating room, her expression was carefully neutral, a look Anna had worn herself countless times. "The surgery was successful," she began, "but the next 24 hours are critical." Anna heard the words through a fog of exhaustion and relief, understanding both the medical implications and the emotional weight behind them. Tommy's recovery became a testament to resilience. Each small victory, the first clear breath, the first smile after waking, the first time his oxygen levels stabilized, felt like miracles. Anna documented everything, both as a doctor tracking progress and as a mother treasuring milestones. "The butterflies are sleeping now," Tommy announced one morning, About a week after surgery, the simple statement, delivered with a child's certainty, brought tears to Anna's eyes. She had faced her greatest fear, watching another child undergo heart surgery and come through it stronger, not broken. The experience transformed Anna's approach to medicine. She began developing new protocols for explaining complex procedures to young patients, incorporating elements of storytelling and imagination. Her methods, born from her unique perspective as both doctor and guardian, would eventually become standard practice in pediatric cardiac care. Richard's true motives emerged during a board meeting at the Miller Foundation 3 months after Tommy's successful surgery. Anna had been invited to present her new pediatric care protocols, but what she overheard in the hallway before the meeting shattered her newfound trust in her brother-in-law. "The publicity is better than we could have hoped for," Richard was saying to someone on his phone. A homeless doctor finding redemption by saving a sick child. The media's eating it up. "Our pediatric funding has tripled since the story broke." There was a pause. "Yes, I know it started as damage control for the Meridian situation, but this is working out perfectly." Anna stood frozen, her presentation folder clutched to her chest. The conversation continued, each word driving deeper like a knife. "The board loves the optics. We're looking at expanding the street medicine program nationally. Think about it, Miller Foundation Centers for Homeless Healthcare, with Anna as the face of the initiative." James would have appreciated the irony. The mention of James snapped something in Anna. She pushed open the boardroom door, interrupting Richard's call. The look of surprise on his face quickly morphed into recognition of what she must have heard. "Anna, let me explain," he started, but she cut him off. "Was any of it real?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "Finding me at the hospital, helping with Tommy's care, the custody battle, was it all just a PR strategy?" The other board members began filtering in, sensing the tension but unsure of its source. Richard dismissed them with a wave, closing the door for privacy. "It started that way," he admitted, his usual polish cracking. "When Dr. Chen called about you, we were dealing with the fallout from almost partnering with Meridian. We needed positive press, and your story seemed perfect." "Perfect?" Anna's laugh was bitter. "My son died, I lost everything, ended up on the streets, and that was perfect for you." "Let me finish," Richard pleaded. "Yes, I initially saw it as an opportunity. But watching you with Tommy, seeing how you fought for him, how you faced your fears during his surgery, it became real. The foundation's success was just a bonus." A bonus. Anna's medical training helped her maintain control, but barely. "You used Tommy's condition, my past, all of it for publicity. While I was terrified of losing another child, you were calculating donor engagement metrics." The confrontation took an unexpected turn when Tommy's voice piped up from the doorway. "Is Uncle Richard in trouble?" he asked, having slipped away from the nurse watching him. The innocence of his question hung in the air, making both adults realize how much their conflict could affect him. Richard knelt to Tommy's level, something Anna had never seen him do before. "I made a mistake," he said seriously. "Sometimes grown-ups try to do the right thing for the wrong reasons, or the wrong thing for the right reasons. I got confused about which was which." Anna watched, torn between anger and amazement, as Richard continued speaking to Tommy. "But you know what? Sometimes mistakes help us learn what really matters. Your Aunt Anna taught me that. She taught all of us that." The foundation's expansion plans were real, as was the increased funding. But Richard's next words revealed a deeper truth. "I have no children of my own," he told Anna. "After James died, work became everything. Using your story for the foundation's benefit was wrong, but it forced me to see what I'd become, someone who measured everything in terms of profit and publicity." Anna felt her anger shifting, not disappearing but transforming. "You should have been honest from the start," she said. "I've had enough people making decisions about my life without my knowledge." "You're right," Richard acknowledged, standing up, "but the program is still worth doing, not for publicity, but because it's needed, because there are more Tommies out there more Annas who need help finding their way back. The resolution came in the form of a compromise. Anna would remain involved with the Foundation's programs, but on her terms. She demanded complete transparency and control over how her story was used. More importantly, she insisted that actual homeless individuals be included on the board of directors for any new initiatives. If you want authenticity, she told the hastily reassembled board, then learn from those who've lived it. Martha knows more about street medicine than most of your consultants. Marcus understands youth outreach better than any expert you could hire. Richard's redemption came not through words but actions. He stepped back from direct management of the homeless healthcare initiative, instead focusing on securing funding and resources while letting Anna and her team of street-experienced advisors guide the program's development. Tommy, in his innocent wisdom, summed it up best: sometimes the butterflies in people's hearts need fixing too. Not just mine his words became the unofficial motto of the reformed program, reminding everyone involved that healing comes in many forms. The crisis erupted without warning on a quiet Sunday afternoon. Tommy had been playing with his beloved Benjamin in the hospital's pediatric recreation room when his face suddenly went ashen. Anna, he called out weakly, using her name instead of their usual playful Dr. Butterfly. A sign something was terribly wrong. The butterflies are screaming. Within seconds, alarms blared as Tommy's heart rate spiked dangerously. Anna's medical training kicked in automatically, even as her maternal instincts screamed in terror. "Code Blue, pediatric wing," she shouted, already starting chest compressions. The room erupted into controlled chaos as the emergency team rushed in. Dr. Chen arrived moments later, taking charge of the situation while Anna found herself torn between being a doctor and a mother. "Severe cardiac tamponade," Dr. Chen announced, her voice steady but urgent. "We need to get him into surgery now." The words hit Anna like physical blows. She knew exactly what they meant, and the risks involved. The next few minutes became a blur of critical decisions. The surgical team was split between two emergency cases, and the hospital's top pediatric cardiac surgeon, Dr. Harrison, was performing a delicate procedure in another operating room. They had three options: wait for Dr. Harrison and risk Tommy's deteriorating condition, proceed with the available surgical team, or attempt emergency transport to Mount Sinai, where a specialized team was standing by. "We don't have time for transport," Anna argued, her medical knowledge warring with her emotions. "But Dr. Harrison has the highest success rate with this procedure." She found herself staring at the surgical consent forms, her hand shaking as she held the pen. Every second of delay increased the risk, but choosing the wrong option could be fatal. Richard arrived amid the chaos, having been notified by the hospital's emergency protocols. "Mount Sinai has a helicopter on standby," he announced. "They can have him in surgery within 45 minutes, but Anna's experience told her Tommy might not have 45 minutes. The situation complicated further when Dr. Chen discovered irregularities in Tommy's blood work. "His clotting factors are abnormal," she reported. "This changes the surgical risk factor significantly." The news eliminated the transport option. Tommy wouldn't survive a helicopter ride with his current condition. In that moment, Anna remembered something from Tommy's initial tests, a detail that had seemed minor at the time. "Check his von Willebrand factor," she instructed, her voice finding its professional strength. "His father had a mild case. It's in the family history we recovered." The quick test confirmed her suspicion, adding another layer of complexity to their surgical decisions. Time was running out. Tommy's oxygen levels were dropping despite maximum support. The available surgical team was preparing for emergency intervention, but Anna knew their experience with pediatric cardiac cases was limited. Dr. Harrison was still at least 20 minutes from finishing his current procedure. "Mum," Tommy whispered through his oxygen mask, using the word for the first time since they'd met. "I trust you." The simple statement cut through Anna's professional detachment, bringing tears to her eyes. She had lost Michael during a surgery that had seemed routine. Now she faced losing Tommy to a surgery that was anything but. The decision crystallized when Tommy's readings suddenly deteriorated. "We can't wait," Dr. Chen declared. It's now or never. Anna found herself making the hardest choice of her life, trusting her child's heart to surgeons she knew were skilled but not specialized in pediatric cases. What followed was a masterclass in medical teamwork. Anna's expertise in pediatric cardiac care proved invaluable as she briefed the surgical team on Tommy's specific condition. She provided insights about his previous procedures, his unique reactions to medications, and the subtle signs that had preceded his current crisis. Richard, proving his worth beyond financial support, coordinated with Dr. Harrison's team to provide real-time consultation during the surgery. They set up a video link to the operating room, allowing Dr. Harrison to advise while completing his own procedure. The surgery itself became a race against time. Each minute brought new challenges: dropping pressure, irregular rhythms, bleeding complications. Anna watched through the observation window, her medical knowledge making every beep of the monitors, every movement of the surgical team, laden with meaning. Martha appeared at her side, somehow having heard about the emergency. She didn't speak, just held Anna's hand as they watched. The gesture bridged Anna's two worlds: the professional medical environment and the street community that had helped protect Tommy. 4 hours into the procedure, they hit a critical moment. Tommy's heart wasn't responding as expected to the repairs. The surgical team looked to the video link, where Dr. Harrison was now finished with his other patient and providing direct guidance. "There's a technique I developed for cases like this," he explained, walking them through a modified approach. The next 30 minutes were the longest of Anna's life. She watched as the surgical team implemented Dr. Harrison's suggestions, making minute adjustments that would mean the difference between life and death. Her own experience with pediatric cardiac cases allowed her to understand exactly what was happening, both a blessing and a curse, as she recognized each risk and complication. Finally, after 6 grueling hours, Dr. Chen emerged from the operating room. Her surgical mask couldn't hide the exhaustion or the smile in her eyes. "He's stable," she announced. The modified technique worked. Dr. Harrison's guidance was crucial, but honestly, Anna, your insights about his condition made the difference. We would have missed the clotting issue without your catch. The relief that flooded through Anna was almost physical in its intensity. She found herself supported by both Richard and Martha as her legs gave way, the adrenaline of the past hours finally wearing off. Tommy was alive. The butterflies, as he would say, were still flying. As Tommy lay recovering in intensive care, monitored by a team of dedicated nurses, Detective Rodriguez burst into the waiting room with startling news. "Sarah and David Thompson are here," he announced, slightly out of breath. They saw the emergency helicopter landing at the hospital on the news. "They've turned themselves in." Anna's world tilted on its axis. After months of searching, Tommy's parents had chosen this moment to emerge from hiding. They stood in the hospital lobby, looking haunted and desperate, Sarah clutching a worn backpack and David still wearing the security guard uniform from his cover job. The reunion was anything but simple. Hospital security had to restrain Sarah when she tried to rush to the ICU. "He's my baby," she screamed, her voice raw with emotion. "I have to see him." David stood quietly behind her, tears streaming down his face as he learned about his son's critical condition. The timing couldn't have been more complex. Tommy was still in critical condition, his newly repaired heart too fragile for emotional stress. The legal implications of the Thompsons' return threatened the delicate custody arrangement that had given Anna authority to approve the emergency surgery. Moreover, Meridian's agents would surely learn of their reappearance. Detective Rodriguez moved quickly, setting up a secure floor with undercover officers. They brought evidence, he explained to Anna and Richard. Enough to bring down not just Meridian's operation at Columbia, but their entire East Coast network. But right now, all they care about is Tommy. Sarah and David's story poured out in a private conference room, under the watchful eye of federal agents. They'd never left New York, working menial jobs under false names, moving frequently to avoid detection. They'd watched their son from afar, their hearts breaking as they saw him in the cardboard box, unable to intervene without putting him at risk. "We saw you find him, Sarah," told Anna, her hands shaking around a paper cup of coffee. "We watched you take care of him, protect him. We checked the hospital records, knew your reputation as a pediatric surgeon. It felt like a miracle of all the people who could have found him. It was someone who could truly help him." David spoke up, his voice hoarse. "We thought about trying to contact you directly, but Meridian was watching too closely. Then, when we saw you were connected to the Miller Foundation, he looked at Richard apologetically. We knew Meridian was trying to infiltrate your organization. We couldn't risk it." The situation became even more complicated when Tommy briefly regained consciousness and asked for Mom. Both Sarah and Anna moved toward his room, then stopped, looking at each other with a mix of pain and understanding. The moment crystallized the impossible situation they all faced. Dr. Chen intervened with professional clarity. "Right now, Tommy's cardiac condition is critical. Any emotional shock could be dangerous. We need to handle this carefully, thinking of his medical needs first." Her words brought everyone back to the immediate priority, Tommy's survival. A plan emerged, crafted with input from medical staff, federal agents, and child psychologists. The Thompsons would remain in protective custody at the hospital, but Tommy wouldn't be told immediately. They could observe him through the ICU window, watch their son fight for his life, but direct contact would wait until he was stronger. Sarah's medical knowledge, she had been a nurse before going into real estate, helped her understand the necessity of this arrangement, even as it tore at her heart. His cardiac readings, she observed, looking at the monitors. "They're better than they were when he was a baby. You've done more for him than we ever could." The next few days created an unusual dynamic in the ICU ward. Anna continued her role as Tommy's primary caregiver, while his biological parents watched from a careful distance. They shared medical histories, filling in crucial gaps about Tommy's early health issues. This information proved valuable for his post-operative care. David spent hours talking with Detective Rodriguez, providing detailed evidence about Meridian's operations. "We knew leaving him was a gamble," he admitted during one session, "but staying would have meant certain danger. At least this way he had a chance." The pain in his voice made even the hardened detective look away. The situation reached a critical point when Tommy, still groggy from medication, caught a glimpse of his parents through the ICU window. His heart monitor immediately showed increased stress. "Mummy," he called out weakly, trying to focus through the glass. Anna found herself facing a crucial decision: maintain the medical safety protocol or acknowledge the truth to a fragile child. The moment of crisis forced Anna to make the hardest decision of her medical career and maternal journey. Tommy's heart rate was climbing dangerously as he recognized his parents, but denying their presence could cause emotional trauma that might prove equally harmful. Drawing on both her medical training and maternal instinct, she made a revolutionary choice. "Tommy," she said softly, holding his hand, "your butterflies need to stay calm right now. Your first mom and dad, they've been helping catch the bad people, just like superheroes in hiding. They're here, but just like when you're sick and can't play right away. We need to take things slowly. Can you be brave for all of us?" The approach was unprecedented in pediatric care, complete honesty wrapped in terms a child could understand, delivered with medical precision and maternal love. Tommy's heart rate began to stabilize as Anna explained everything using their special butterfly language. She described how his parents had protected him like guardian angels, and how everyone, his first parents and his now family, were working together to keep him safe. The homeless community, still deeply connected to Tommy's story, mobilized in their own way. Martha organized a rotation of familiar faces outside Tommy's room, each one a reminder of the network that had watched over him in his cardboard box days. Their presence provided a sense of continuity that helped him process the dramatic changes. Richard, witness to this delicate handling of an impossible situation, saw Anna in a new light. "You're sacrificing your own claim on him," he observed quietly. "You're putting his healing above your right to be his only mother." Anna's response was immediate. Love isn't about ownership. It's about giving children roots to grow and wings to fly. The hospital staff, moved by the unfolding drama, contributed their own expertise. Child life specialists worked with Anna to create a therapy plan that would allow Tommy to reconnect with his biological parents while maintaining the secure attachment he'd formed with her. Physical therapists incorporated family photos into his recovery exercises, helping him build strength while processing his complex emotions. Sarah and David, watching Anna's sacrifice, made their own. Instead of asserting their parental rights immediately, they proposed a revolutionary arrangement. "We've watched how you've healed him, not just physically but emotionally," Sarah told Anna. "We don't want to take him away from that. We want to learn from you, to create something new, a family that has room for all the love he's found." The media caught wind of the story, but the homeless community proved unexpected guardians of privacy. They formed human chains around hospital entrances, quietly deterring photographers. Marcus, now working as a hospital orderly through Richard's program, coordinated with security to ensure no unauthorized persons reached Tommy's floor. The most touching moment came when Tommy, still weak but improving, asked for all his parents to be present for his daily butterfly check, his term for medical examinations. "I have lots of hearts taking care of my heart," he announced proudly, holding both Anna's and Sarah's hands while David and Richard stood watch at the door. The arrangement they eventually created was unprecedented in both medical and legal terms. Anna would maintain primary medical decision-making authority, given her expertise with Tommy's condition. The Thompsons would gradually resume their parental role, but within a framework that preserved the bonds Tommy had formed during their absence. Richard would continue as a guardian, ensuring financial and legal protection for this unconventional family. The true sacrifice came in Anna's decision to step back from her rising position at the hospital to focus on creating a transitional care program for families in similar situations. She recognized that Tommy's case, though unique, highlighted a broader need for medical care that accounted for complex family dynamics and emotional trauma. "Sometimes healing means letting go of what we thought we needed," she explained to Dr. Chen, who had initially opposed her decision to reduce her surgical hours. "Tommy taught me that love is expansive, not exclusive. Medicine should be too." The homeless community celebrated this evolution in their own way. They established an informal support network for families navigating medical crises, sharing their street-learned wisdom about survival and resilience. Martha became a regular consultant for the hospital's new family integration program, her experience with trauma and healing proving invaluable. The sacrifice Anna made sharing the child who had brought her back to life became a catalyst for systemic change. The Miller Foundation established a new division focused on complex family care, combining medical expertise with trauma-informed support for non-traditional family structures. Tommy, recovering stronger each day, seemed to understand the magnitude of what was happening around him. "My butterflies are happy," he declared one evening, surrounded by all the people who loved him. "They have lots of gardens to visit now." His innocent metaphor captured the essence of what they'd created, an ecosystem of love and care that transcended traditional boundaries. Dear amazing souls, your support means the world to us. If this heartwarming story has touched your heart, please consider subscribing to our channel. Each subscription helps us share more inspiring stories of hope, love, and resilience. Together, we can spread more light in this world. The weeks following Tommy's surgery established a new normal that defied conventional family structures. Room 412 of the pediatric wing became a unique experiment in blended healing, where medical recovery intertwined with emotional reconstruction. Each morning began with what Tommy called the Butterfly Council, a gathering where Anna checked his medical progress while Sarah and David shared stories from his early years. "Tell me again about my first butterfly dance," Tommy would request, delighting in hearing how he had toddled through his first steps while his heart condition was initially discovered. Sarah would share the memory while Anna explained the medical significance, creating a bridge between his past and present. David would add details about the toys he'd loved, helping Tommy reconstruct a timeline of his life that made sense to his 4-year-old mind. Richard's daily visits brought another dimension to their unusual family dynamic. He'd arrive with his laptop, handling foundation business while participating in what became known as story time rounds. Medical updates were woven into tales about brave heart cells and healing adventures, with each adult contributing their own perspective to help Tommy understand his recovery. The hospital staff adapted to this unconventional arrangement with remarkable flexibility. Nurses scheduled their rounds to accommodate both sets of parents, while child life specialists developed innovative ways to help Tommy process his complex family situation. They created a special book called My Many Hearts, where Tommy could document all the people who loved him, complete with medical stickers and butterfly drawings. Martha's presence provided a grounding force for everyone. Her street-earned wisdom helped bridge awkward moments between the adults, while her practical approach to healing, incorporating both medical advice and emotional comfort, became a model for the hospital's new family-centered care protocol. She taught Sarah and David the special signals and routines that Anna had developed with Tommy, helping them integrate into his world rather than disrupting it. The most challenging moments came during physical therapy sessions, where Tommy's determination to recover sometimes exceeded his body's capabilities. It was during one such session that the true strength of their arrangement became clear. When Tommy became frustrated with his limitations, each adult offered a different kind of support. Anna provided medical encouragement, Sarah offered maternal comfort, David shared stories of perseverance, and Richard demonstrated practical problem-solving. "I have the biggest family in the hospital," Tommy announced proudly to Dr. Chen during a checkup. "They all know different parts of fixing butterflies." His simple observation captured the essence of what they'd created: a healing environment that combined medical expertise, parental love, and community support. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. There were moments of tension when medical decisions had to be made, times when past trauma surfaced unexpectedly, and instances where professional boundaries blurred with personal connections. Yet each challenge was met with a collective commitment to Tommy's well-being that transcended individual egos. Sarah and David gradually shared more details about their time in hiding, helping everyone understand the depth of their sacrifice. They described watching Tommy from afar, how they'd coordinated with the homeless community without anyone realizing it, leaving subtle signs and supplies that only their son would recognize. These revelations helped Anna appreciate the profound trust they were placing in her by sharing their son's care. Richard's role evolved beyond that of benefactor. His business acumen proved valuable in managing the practical aspects of their situation, from coordinating with law enforcement to ensuring Tommy's medical care wouldn't be interrupted by legal proceedings. More importantly, he became a stabilizing presence, often mediating between medical necessities and emotional needs. But the most beautiful developments were the small ones: Tommy learning to accept comfort from all his parents, the adults finding ways to share celebrations and setbacks, the creation of new traditions that honored both past and present. They established butterfly watch parties where medical checkups became family events, complete with small celebrations for each milestone in his recovery. As Tommy grew stronger, their unusual family unit began to attract attention from medical professionals interested in their integrated approach to pediatric care. Anna found herself documenting their methods, recognizing that their experience could help other families navigating complex medical and emotional territories. "Sometimes the best medicine isn't in the prescription," she noted in her journal. "It's in the way we create space for all kinds of healing, all kinds of love." This observation would later become the foundation for a revolutionary approach to pediatric care, one that recognized the healing power of unconventional family structures. The legal resolution of Tommy's case set precedents that would reshape family law in medical contexts. The courthouse on Center Street became the venue for a groundbreaking hearing that brought together medical ethics, family rights, and child welfare in unprecedented ways. Judge Eleanor Martinez, known for her innovative approach to complex family cases, faced a unique challenge. The traditional custody framework simply didn't apply to a situation where biological parents, a medical guardian, and a philanthropic protector all held valid claims to involvement in a child's life. The law must evolve, she declared, to recognize that healing sometimes requires more than traditional family structures. The solution emerged through a series of carefully crafted legal documents. First came a shared medical custody agreement, giving Anna primary authority over Tommy's cardiac care while establishing a consultation framework that included Sarah's nursing expertise. This arrangement acknowledged both Anna's specialized knowledge and the biological parents' right to participate in their son's medical decisions. David and Sarah's criminal immunity was negotiated in exchange for their testimony against Meridian, but with an unusual condition. Rather than entering witness protection, they would remain under the Foundation's security umbrella, allowing Tommy to maintain relationships with all his caregivers. Richard's legal team crafted intricate agreements that protected everyone's interests while prioritizing Tommy's well-being. "We're not just creating a custody arrangement," the family court mediator observed. "We're establishing a new model for medical guardianship in complex family situations." The documents detailed everything from daily care schedules to emergency medical protocols, creating a framework that could adapt to Tommy's changing needs. The most innovative aspect was the medical family integration clause that Anna proposed. It formally recognized the role of the homeless community members who had protected Tommy, granting them specific visitation rights and incorporating their insights into his care plan. Martha was officially designated as a community health advocate, legitimizing the street-level support network that had proved so valuable. The legal team faced particular challenges in addressing the Foundation's role. Richard's position needed to be defined in a way that provided necessary resources without creating conflicts of interest. The solution was the establishment of a specialized medical trust, managed by an independent board but guided by the collective input of Tommy's expanded family unit. Security concerns required creative legal solutions. The court orders included provisions for ongoing protection, with both the Foundation security team and law enforcement maintaining coordinated surveillance. These measures were carefully balanced against Tommy's need for a normal childhood, creating secure spaces where he could play and develop without feeling confined. Insurance and liability issues proved particularly complex. The legal team had to navigate multiple policies, ensuring that Tommy's care would be fully covered regardless of which guardian was making medical decisions. Richard's Foundation ultimately created a specialized insurance product designed for similar cases, recognizing a gap in traditional medical coverage for non-traditional family structures. The final court order was unprecedented in its scope and flexibility. It established what Judge Martinez termed a medical family cooperative, a legally recognized unit where multiple adults could hold different but complementary roles in a child's medical care. The arrangement included regular court reviews to ensure all parties were working together effectively. Perhaps most importantly, the legal framework included provisions for Tommy's voice to be heard in decisions affecting his care. Age-appropriate consultation mechanisms were established, recognizing that his understanding of his own medical condition and family situation would evolve as he grew older. The resolution received national attention from both legal and medical communities. Law schools began using the case to teach about evolving family structures in medical contexts, while hospitals studied the documents as a model for handling complex guardianship situations. Anna summarized the achievement during the final hearing. "We've created something that looks like chaos on paper, but feels like harmony in practice. It's a legal framework built around love rather than trying to force love into a legal framework." The judge quoted these words in her final ruling. noting that sometimes the law must catch up to the reality of human relationships. Richard Miller's transformation from calculating businessman to compassionate family member unfolded gradually in the months following Tommy's recovery. The change became apparent first in small ways: his regular appearances at therapy sessions without his laptop, his patient explanations of financial matters using butterfly metaphors, and his growing collection of children's books in his previously austere office. The pivotal moment came during a foundation board meeting when Tommy made an unexpected appearance, still in his hospital pajamas. "Uncle Richard," he announced to the startled board members, "I drew your heart getting bigger, like the Grinch." The simple observation, accompanied by a crayon drawing, sparked something in Richard that decades of business success hadn't touched. That evening, for the first time since James's death, Richard opened up to Anna about his own grief. "I buried myself in spreadsheets and acquisitions," he confessed, "because numbers made sense when nothing else did. But Tommy, he makes everything make sense in a different way." The conversation marked the beginning of Richard's emotional rehabilitation. His transformation affected every aspect of the Miller Foundation. The corporate culture shifted from pure efficiency to what employees dubbed butterfly economics, a philosophy that balanced profit with genuine human impact. Richard began requiring board members to spend time in the pediatric ward, understanding the real stories behind their funding decisions. The change was most evident in his approach to the homeless healthcare initiative. Rather than viewing it as a PR opportunity, Richard immersed himself in understanding street-level healthcare needs. He spent evenings with Martha and her network, learning about the complex web of support systems that existed outside traditional medical structures. "I used to think success was measured in portfolio growth," he told a surprised gathering of medical students during a foundation lecture. "Now I measure it in butterfly moments, those times when someone's life transforms because we chose compassion over convenience." The statement would later become the Foundation's new mission statement. Richard's redemption reached its peak during a crisis with the Foundation's major donors. When several conservative board members objected to the unconventional family arrangement with Tommy, suggesting it might deter traditional donors, Richard took an unprecedented stand. He offered to personally replace any withdrawn funding, declaring that the Foundation would lead by example in supporting non-traditional healing environments. But the business media was stunned when Richard announced a major restructuring of the Miller Foundation's investment portfolio. He divested from companies with questionable ethical practices, even at the cost of significant short-term losses. "We can't help heal children," he explained at a press conference, "while investing in companies that harm them." Tommy's influence on Richard extended to personal changes as well. The once workaholic executive began leaving the office for afternoon baseball games, honoring his brother James's love of the sport. He converted part of his penthouse into a child-friendly space, complete with medical play equipment to help Tommy process his ongoing treatment. The most touching aspect of Richard's transformation was his effort to preserve James's memory in positive ways. He established the James Miller Memorial Fellowship for Compassionate Pediatric Care, focusing on doctors who demonstrated both medical excellence and emotional intelligence. The program's logo featured a butterfly, Tommy's suggestion for representing how his father's spirit lived on through helping others. His relationship with Anna evolved from awkward obligation to genuine family bond. They began co-teaching a course at the medical school about integrated family care, with Richard bringing his business expertise to discussions about making compassionate care financially sustainable. Their unified approach helped bridge the often wide gap between medical ideals and economic realities. The Foundation's annual report that year broke with tradition. Instead of leading with financial metrics, it opened with a child's drawing Tommy's portrait of his extended family, including Richard with an oversized heart. The accompanying text explained the Foundation's new commitment to measuring success through human connection rather than just numerical growth. Perhaps the most significant sign of Richard's change was his decision to move his office to the pediatric wing of the hospital. Business decisions affecting children's lives, he explained, should be made where we can see those lives unfolding. His new office became a curious blend of corporate efficiency and childlike wonder, with financial reports sharing space with crayon masterpieces. The man who had once seen Tommy's story as a PR opportunity had become an integral part of that story's heart. As Anna observed to Martha one evening, sometimes the people who seem least likely to change are the ones most ready for transformation. They just need the right butterfly to show them how to fly. 10 years passed like pages turning in a storybook. Tommy grew from the brave little boy in a cardboard box into a thoughtful teenager whose experiences shaped his unique perspective on life and healing. At 14, during a routine checkup with Dr. Chen, he made an announcement that surprised no one who knew him well. "I want to be a pediatric cardiologist," he declared, his voice carrying the same determination it had when he used to describe his butterflies. "But not just any kind. I want to help kids who are scared, like I was. Kids who have different kinds of families like I do." His academic journey reflected the extraordinary support system surrounding him. Anna guided his scientific understanding, teaching him to read ECG patterns the way others might teach poetry. Sarah, drawing on her nursing background, helped him grasp the practical aspects of patient care. David's analytical mind proved invaluable in tackling the complex mathematics required for advanced biology. Richard's contribution came in unexpected ways. He established a youth mentorship program at the hospital with Tommy as its first participant. The program paired medically complex teenagers with younger patients, creating a support system that understood the unique challenges of growing up with health conditions. Tommy's experiences in the hospital's corridors were unlike those of typical medical students. He knew every corner of the pediatric ward, not just as a patient but as someone who had grown up understanding the delicate dance between medical necessity and emotional healing. The nurses who had cared for him became his first medical teachers, sharing insights that went far beyond textbook knowledge. His unique background made him particularly effective with frightened young patients. During his volunteer hours in the pediatric ward, Tommy developed what the staff called the butterfly approach, using his own story to help children understand their medical journeys. He kept his old teddy bear, Benjamin, in his locker, bringing him out for especially scared children. Martha's influence remained strong in Tommy's life, teaching him about the human side of medicine that no textbook could capture. Through her, he maintained connections with the homeless community that had once protected him, organizing regular health clinics that brought medical care to the streets. These experiences shaped his understanding of healthcare accessibility in ways that would later influence his medical practice. The most remarkable aspect of Tommy's development was his ability to bridge different worlds. He moved seamlessly between high-level medical discussions with Anna and street-level healthcare delivery with Martha's network. His school projects often combined scientific research with practical applications for underserved communities. His own medical journey continued, with regular checkups and occasional procedures, but these experiences only strengthened his resolve. Each hospital stay became an opportunity to learn, observing procedures from a patient's perspective while asking sophisticated medical questions that impressed even veteran doctors. By his senior year of high school, Tommy had already co-authored a paper with Anna about emotional support systems in pediatric cardiac care. His unique position as both patient and aspiring doctor provided insights that caught the attention of medical schools across the country. The paper's title, Butterflies in Medicine, a patient-centered approach to pediatric cardiac care, paid homage to the metaphor that had helped him understand his own condition as a child. Medicine isn't just about fixing hearts, he explained during a presentation to the hospital board. It's about understanding that every heart comes with a story, a family, and a need for more than just technical care. His words echoed the lessons learned from his extraordinary journey from a cardboard box to the threshold of a medical career. Anna's experience with Tommy catalyzed the creation of the Butterfly Network, a revolutionary healthcare initiative that transformed pediatric care across the country. Based out of the renovated wing of Mount Sinai Hospital, the program integrated traditional medical excellence with unconventional support systems learned from her time on the streets. The Foundation's core principle was simple yet revolutionary. Every medical crisis is also a family crisis. Under Anna's leadership, the program developed comprehensive support systems that went far beyond traditional medical care. Social workers, legal advisors, and community advocates became integral parts of every child's treatment team. Drawing from her unique journey from prestigious doctor to homeless survivor to innovative medical pioneer, Anna created protocols that acknowledged the complex realities of modern families. The program specialized in cases where medical care intersected with challenging social situations, homeless families, unconventional guardianship arrangements, and complex custody situations. Martha became the Foundation's community outreach director, bringing street-level wisdom to institutional medicine. Her network of former homeless individuals, now trained as patient advocates, provided a crucial bridge between medical institutions and underserved communities. They called themselves Street Angels, helping families navigate both medical and social challenges. The program's most innovative feature was its family integration unit inspired by Tommy's case. Here, children with complex medical and social needs could receive treatment while their families, biological, adopted, or chosen, learned to work together for the child's benefit. The unit became known for its success in handling cases that traditional hospitals found too complicated. Richard's business acumen helped expand the program nationally, but with a twist that reflected their shared evolution. Instead of traditional expansion, they created a network of partner hospitals that adopted their protocols while maintaining local community connections. Each location was encouraged to adapt the program to their specific community needs. The Foundation's training program became highly sought after by medical professionals worldwide. Anna's curriculum combined cutting-edge medical training with emotional intelligence and cultural competency. Medical residents learned not just how to treat conditions, but how to understand the complex social ecosystems that affected their patients' healing. The most meaningful validation came from the families themselves. Success stories began accumulating. Homeless children receiving coordinated medical care while their parents received support to stabilize their situations. Complex custody cases resolved through medically informed cooperation. Frightened children finding comfort in peer support programs. Anna's office became a testament to their impact. One wall was covered with photographs of Butterfly graduates' children who had received care through the program and their families. Each picture told a story of healing that went beyond medical recovery, showing the power of integrated support systems. The medical establishment initially resisted some of their more unconventional approaches, but outcomes spoke for themselves. Recovery rates improved, readmission rates dropped, and patient satisfaction scores soared. More importantly, families reported feeling supported and understood throughout their medical journeys. As the program grew, Anna never lost sight of its origins in a cardboard box on a rainy night. Each new initiative was measured against a simple question: would this have helped Tommy? This personal touchstone kept the Foundation grounded in real human needs rather than institutional metrics. Medicine isn't just about saving lives, she often told new staff members. It's about preserving the humanity in how we save them. This philosophy became the cornerstone of a movement that would eventually reshape pediatric care across the country. The evolution of Tommy's unique family structure became a model for modern medical care, demonstrating how complex relationships could work harmoniously for a child's benefit. What started as a crisis-born arrangement blossomed into a rich tapestry of love, support, and understanding that defied conventional labels. Holiday celebrations at the Miller Foundation's pediatric wing exemplified their success. Thanksgiving dinners became legendary events where medical staff, former street dwellers, and family members of all descriptions gathered to celebrate healing in its many forms. Tommy would proudly introduce his expansive family. These are my parents, all of them. They each know a different way to make hearts stronger. Sarah and David, fully cleared of legal complications, established a counseling program for families facing similar crises. Their unique perspective as parents who had made the heartbreaking choice to leave their child for his safety helped others navigate impossible decisions. They worked closely with Anna, combining their experiences to support families torn between medical needs and external threats. Richard's role evolved into that of the quintessential uncle, bringing business acumen to family matters while maintaining the warmth that Tommy had awakened in him. His office, once a fortress of corporate power, became a favorite hangout spot for young patients, complete with a butterfly viewing window overlooking the city. Martha's integration into the family added a layer of streetwise grandmother wisdom that proved invaluable. Her presence reminded everyone that family could be found in unexpected places, and her practical approach to problems often cut through medical and legal complexities to find simple, human solutions. The most remarkable aspect was how they handled disagreements. Medical decisions became collaborative efforts, with each person contributing their unique perspective. Anna's medical expertise, Sarah's maternal instincts, David's analytical mind, and Richard's pragmatic approach combined to create thoroughly considered solutions. Their success inspired the creation of family integration protocols at several major hospitals. These guidelines helped medical institutions work with non-traditional family structures, recognizing that healing often required supporting entire networks of care rather than just individual guardians. Tommy thrived in this environment of multiplied love. His medical challenges became opportunities for family bonding, with each adult contributing to his recovery in unique ways. Treatment sessions turned into story times, with different family members sharing perspectives on healing, courage, and perseverance. The family's annual butterfly migration celebration marked the anniversary of Tommy's first surgery, but it evolved into something greater. The event became a gathering point for other families navigating complex medical and social situations, proving that unconventional arrangements could provide stable, nurturing environments for children. Their home life defied traditional schedules but maintained a rhythm that worked for everyone. Sunday dinners rotated between households, medical appointments became family meetings, and holidays expanded to accommodate multiple celebrations. The arrangement demanded flexibility but provided Tommy with a rich, diverse support system. As Tommy grew, the family's structure evolved naturally to meet his changing needs. Each adult played a distinct role in his development. Anna guided his medical understanding. Sarah and David shared his history. Richard taught him about responsibility and leadership, and Martha kept him grounded in practical wisdom. Love multiplies, it doesn't divide became their unofficial family motto, often shared with other families struggling to balance complex relationships. Their success proved that with commitment, communication, and care, families could transcend traditional boundaries to create something uniquely beautiful and functional. On a bright September morning, 20 years after he was found in a cardboard box, Dr. Thomas Tommy Thompson Miller stood before the mirror in the doctor's locker room at Mount Sinai Children's Hospital, adjusting his new white coat. The embroidered butterfly next to his name badge was a personal touch, a reminder of where his journey began. His first patient was scheduled in examination room 3, the same room where Dr. Chen had first diagnosed his heart condition all those years ago. The symmetry wasn't lost on him. In his pocket he carried Benjamin, the faithful teddy bear now serving as a tool to comfort scared young patients. The family waiting for him presented a familiar scenario, a homeless mother with a sick child, fear in their eyes as they faced an uncertain medical journey. Tommy introduced himself with the warmth he'd learned from his many parents. "I understand being scared," he said, pulling out Benjamin. "This bear helped me when I was a patient here. Would you like to be his friend while we talk?" As he conducted the examination, Tommy seamlessly wove together the different aspects of his upbringing. He used Anna's medical precision, Sarah's nurturing touch, David's clear explanations, Richard's practical solutions, and Martha's streetwise compassion. His approach wasn't just about diagnosing illness, it was about understanding the whole story. The mother, noticing the butterfly on his coat, asked about its significance. Tommy shared a simplified version of his story, watching hope replace fear in her eyes. By the end of the consultation, he had not only developed a treatment plan but also connected the family with the Butterfly Network support services. Later that day, during a brief break, he stood at the window overlooking the spot where his cardboard box had once been. 5 different people had taught him how to be a doctor in 5 different ways, and now he was ready to pass those lessons on. The butterfly on his coat caught the sunlight, casting small rainbows across his notes. During Tommy's first week as a practicing physician, Anna found herself standing in her old office, now a shared space for their integrated family care program. 20 years had transformed not just lives but the entire approach to pediatric medicine in their hospital. Looking through the window at Tommy consulting with a young patient, Anna reflected on their extraordinary journey. The frightened boy from the cardboard box had become a doctor who brought unique insight to every patient interaction. She watched as he used Benjamin to demonstrate a heart procedure to a nervous child, remembering how the same bear had once helped him understand his own condition. The Butterfly Network had grown beyond her wildest dreams, with branches in hospitals across the country. Each location adapted their model of integrated family care, creating spaces where medical treatment and emotional healing worked in harmony. The sight of homeless advocates working alongside specialists had become commonplace, breaking down barriers she'd once thought insurmountable. Her office walls told the story of their revolution in medicine, photographs of countless families helped through their program, academic papers documenting their success, and artwork from grateful children. Among them hung Tommy's original crayon drawing of his butterflies, now framed alongside his medical school diploma. What struck her most was how their personal story had created ripples of change throughout the medical community. Their unconventional family arrangement had paved the way for more inclusive healthcare policies. Hospitals now routinely considered social support systems as crucial components of medical care, not just optional extras. Sometimes she thought, watching Tommy expertly handle a challenging case, the greatest medical breakthroughs aren't about new procedures or medications. They're about remembering that every patient comes with a story, a family, and a need for more than just physical healing. The butterfly pin on her own white coat caught the light, matching the one Tommy wore. These small symbols had become recognized throughout the medical community as markers of a different kind of healing, one that embraced complexity and found strength in unconventional solutions. The most unexpected development came on Tommy's 1-month anniversary as a physician. During a routine board meeting of the Butterfly Network, Richard announced a startling discovery: Meridian Financial's former operations had inadvertently created a network of children in situations similar to Tommy's. Through their money laundering scheme, they had indirectly affected dozens of families who had been forced to make impossible choices. The revelation sparked a new mission for their already revolutionary program. Using the extensive data retrieved from Meridian's collapsed empire, they began identifying and reaching out to these families. Each case echoed Tommy's story in different ways: children separated from parents by circumstance rather than choice, families torn apart by external threats rather than negligence. Tommy took personal interest in these cases, understanding better than anyone the complex emotions involved. The Butterfly Network expanded its scope to include a specialized program for reuniting and healing families fractured by criminal enterprises, turning a dark legacy into a force for healing. The final piece fell into place when Sarah and David discovered that their original evidence against Meridian had documented more than just financial crimes. Hidden in the complex paper trail were connections to other medical institutions where similar situations had played out. This information became the foundation for a nationwide initiative to identify and support children whose medical care had been compromised by criminal activities. As Tommy stood before the board, presenting his plan for this new branch of their work, he embodied everything their journey had been about: the transformation of trauma into healing, of fear into hope, of individual struggle into systemic change. Every butterfly effect, he concluded, starts with a single beat of wings. We started with one cardboard box. Now we have the chance to help rewrite hundreds of similar stories. Dear wonderful viewers, your support means everything to us. If this touching story has moved you, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and join our growing family of compassionate souls. Hit that like button to help us reach more hearts, and share this video with your loved ones, because beautiful stories deserve to be shared. We'd love to hear your thoughts and emotions in the comments below. How did Tommy's journey touch your heart? Would you like to hear part 2 of this incredible story? Together, we can spread more stories of hope, love, and healing.